you think maybe from your perspective, you have a blind spot? And I'd love you to push back on this one here. The blind spot is, the only life you've ever lived is the life of a alpha raised by an alpha who raised two boys who are alphas, who the way you describe your father was a guy that pushed you guys, challenged you guys. He brought you guys together to back each other up. And all you know is I can fight, I can play chess, I can outthink you, I can get out of things. I have the gift of gap, I can talk, I can do. So that's the only lens you have where, if we were living in times, biblical times, a guy like you would probably end up being the emperor. A guy like you who can do all of those things, you're probably going to make it to the top.
Correct.
But they created laws and orders for guys like you to not bully the little guy, to protect the little guy. That's how they came up with the gum to call it the great equalizer, where naturally you're supposed to gravitate to the top.
Yep.
Naturally.
Agreed.
Because of all those things you bring to the table. People want a guy like even in New York, many times, Brownsville, they wanted some of the mob there because the mob prevented girls from being taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
But they still broke the law. So there was still that element of, so do you think a part of it where for you, yes, a person may say, I can see why Tate wants to be in a place where there's fewer law and order versus in a place where there's high law and order, because it doesn't really defend him, doesn't protect them.
That's a really good point of view. And it actually ties in very interesting to another point I want to make. Where there's a correlation between people who are free thinkers and people who have opinions which differ from the norm and their testosterone levels. I don't know if you've ever seen this. But the higher your testosterone level, the more likely you are to stand up and say something that the group doesn't agree with. And the basic premise behind it, biologically, is you're more prepared to defend your idea. If you stand up against 5 men and say, you're wrong, I believe this, at some point, and especially in history, that can become violent. So if you don't have the capability or at least the bravery to stand up and face the possibility of violence, you're more likely to just comply with the group thing. So they've done a whole bunch of studies that proves somebody who is combative, not in a negative way, but combative as a whole in regards to not physically afraid of having a confrontation, let's say, is more likely to have an independent idea as opposed to somebody who is the complete opposite. They're just pure groupthink because fish swim in schools, right? That's how they protect themselves. So it's an interesting point you have there. And also that can be extrapolated if you look at the political parties of the world or you look at the different ideas, etc. You can usually look at someone and kind of see their politics. Sometimes you can look at him and go, yeah, I get it. Right. So there's a lot. Biology is a huge part to play with it. And yeah, I agree with you. And you're totally right. My view, like every other person's view on earth, is biased. And I have a large degree of individualism and a large degree of I can fix this myself or I'll be okay by myself. And that's how I was raised. And it's also my genetic makeup. And you're right. I completely agree with you. And I understand that. And that's why each to their own. I'm not saying everybody should decide to go move to Serbia because you're right. There's mobsters in Serbia that will take advantage of a whole bunch of people completely. But for myself and my own personal chessboard, that's how I've set up life. And that's why the students who follow me and the kids I talk to, I say, listen, life is extremely difficult as a man. It's very fucking hard. There is no way I can tell you to win unless you're a top tier man. I can't sit here and give you a cheat code that allows you to stay a loser and win. I can only tell you what I've done. I became extremely wealthy. I became extremely capable. I became extremely smart. I developed a vast network of individuals that nobody wants to mess with. And I set up a life that makes me difficult to damage. That's what I did. You're saying, how can I comply, and stay weak and stay stupid and be safe from tyranny? And I say to you, you can't do that. That's why I teach the tenets I teach. And that's also why I think they find me so threatening, because I'm teaching people to do exactly that. I say, listen, there's no strength of mind or strength of opinion without strength of body. First thing you need to do is go trade. Don't care what you think. Don't care what you think. Too small. First thing you need to do is go train. That's number one. If you think 2 + 2 is 4, and I think 2 + 2 is 5, and we're going to argue this to the end, it's going to be 5. So you better go do something.
Newsflash. 2 + 2 is 5 now.
That's the reality, but that's the reality of Earth, right? And I teach kids this reality. I teach men this reality. And by even doing basic things like teaching young men to go and be strong physically, which is, I'd like to think we live in a world where that's all seen as a good thing. There are people in the world who sit there and go, wait. Making them physically stronger is going to affect our ability to change the narrative in their minds in real time with our matrix programming. That is negative.
Do you think there's wisdom in not saying everything you're thinking about? So for example, Logan's going to have a big following that's going to say, well, he's wiser than you, Tate, because look at you now. You got banned and he's not. You're smart. He's wise. He knew what his limits are because he knows at what levels somebody is above him and he
Right.
knows how to handle that versus you can't control your thoughts and you say whatever that's on your mind. That's what got you in trouble. Hence, Logan is wiser than Tate.
Interesting point. And I would actually agree with that point because as much as people think I'm speaking my mind, trust me, it's just 20% of the things I think. There are limits to the world and there's times to say them, there's times not to say them. However, I feel a duty that Logan doesn't feel, and the duty is to my children's children. And I believe certain things need to be said, and it goes beyond just trying to keep my YouTube channel. I have a duty. I have a sense of duty, which is he doesn't feel. He doesn't care. He will say anything that's said, and he will allow anyone to get banned. He doesn't give a fuck as long as he gets to continue on his channel. Please don't delete my channel. I need to be a clown on this channel. That's all he cares about. I care about the world as a whole. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if they delete me for everywhere. I don't care if I go missing from all of social media forever. I don't care. I have money. I'm fine. I'll go to the mountains. I'll take my car. I'll chill. I have a good life. It doesn't matter to me, right? We have different objectives. So yeah, if my objective was primarily number one concern, keep YouTube, then of course I'd talk differently. But that was never my objective. So people will argue he's smarter. I would just argue he has far less important intentions. And I'll argue that he has less moral character and he's quicker to sell out. A lot of the things I say, I'll also be honest, a lot of things I say, I really don't think were bannable offenses. I just think I said things that got so popular. I don't think it's the things I said. I think it's how many times they were listened to.
If you enjoyed this video and you want to watch the entire podcast, click over here. And if you want to be connected with experts, influencers such as Kiyosaki, Tate, Connolly, Paul Menteri, myself, and others, download the app Minect, where you get a chance to connect with these folks by the minute. You get to buy the minute or have FaceTimes with them, 15 minutes, ask them any questions you may want to have. Download the app Minect and start connecting with influencers and experts today.